Shares Talks, and I'm Armenui Hovakimen. My guest today is Alina Aldambergen, the chairman of the management board of Kazakhstan Stock Exchange. Ms. Aldambergen, thank you for joining me.
Hello, Armenui. Thank you for inviting to FIA's interview.
Thanks. Ms. Aldambergen, I would like to start with the topic which is inevitable in this time, the coronavirus pandemic, and how we are dealing with this in this crisis situation. So how KASE is dealing, how the activities has changed, and in general, the market in Kazakhstan, how was affected with?
Thank you for your question. Exactly at this moment of time, we have about 80% of staff working from distance. Unfortunately, since March, we had to switch to this basically kind of type of working. Even though basically in May, we worked in June, we worked for full time. But right now we have again the situation in Kazakhstan that the virus is spreading. Therefore, the government is taking additional measures. And actually right now, just today, they announced that there will be another quarantine period for 14 days, beginning July 5th. But as a stock exchange, as in any other country, we have continued to work, even though we had lockdown periods from March 19 until May 11. And another lockdown period will have, or reduced activities will have from July 5th until July 19th at this point of time.
So you are having, the whole world is having the second wave of the pandemic, and Kazakhstan also. So you are going to have another lockdown. And in the beginning of the past lockdown, the market was very fluctuating and the volatility is very high. How do you predict this time, this second wave of the lockdown? Do you predict the same market activities, the same behavior of the market, or it will be changed?
No, I think that right now the situation is different than March. We're all in more certain environment. We understand what is happening, how it affects the business. Of course, it negatively affects the economic situation, but at least we are more familiar with the situation. Because again, we didn't have enough information about the disease, so extra measures, I think, were taken. A lot of businesses were closed down or had significantly reduced activities. Right now, for example, we are going to have a quarantine, but it's not going to be as strict as it was in March and April. But talking about the exchange business, I think in Kazakhstan we have a different model. So we don't have only a stock market. We have quite a number of markets, and these markets perform differently during the situations like this. We have a state securities market, we have corporate bonds, shares, we also have FX market, repo market, and taking into account that all kind of trading is done through stock exchange, Kazakhstan Stock Exchange in Kazakhstan. Therefore, even if some markets, for example, have less trading, less new issuers, we have more issuers or additional bonds coming from the Ministry of Finance or from corporate sector. And this is what we observed this year, because even if you look at our figures for the first half of 2020, we have actually a slight increase in total trading volume. We had around 60 trillion tenge, or around 149 billion tenge, dollars, I'm sorry. And that's in comparison to first half of 2019, it's more than by 5%. In March, we had quite a drastic situation because the whole world was falling into parts. There was significant volatility in stock markets. The same happened in Kazakhstan shares. But some of our index shares are only locally traded. Therefore, they were less volatile, but those who are traded in other stock exchanges like London Stock Exchange, they had a quite significant falling. And therefore, if we saw like that S&P index reduced by 11% during one day, in Kazakhstan we had it only by 3.8%, And actually, the index during the first half of this year has fallen only by 0.9%, so it's not as significant. And again, I think it also depends on the local situation. For example, in Kazakhstan, we have a lot of national companies, shares and bonds traded, and the government announced that the companies will pay more dividends, and it helped shares of our companies in April and May. But similar trend that we saw in other markets, we had significant retail activity, and actually we have a significant growth of retail accounts in 1 month, more than by 3,300 accounts, and we saw a lot of retail trading taking place. And I think that also helped our total volume of trading in shares market.
So as a business, stock exchange is doing well during this time, but as an operational part, how do you like this work from home thing as a leader?
Personally, I don't like, and I think there are a lot of discussion going and taking place whether it's good or not to work from distance, even though for stock exchanges it's possible. And taking into account, also talking about Kazakhstan Stock Exchange, we also had contingency plans in place. So we're familiar with this kind of working from distance. We have different plans of how to organize this business. And for us, the only unusual part was that we had to extend it for a longer period, like 2 months. Then the other thing was that we had to cover all employees because, for example, for contingency plans, we have some kind of extra groups who work for a certain period of time, and so it's less people. Now we had to expand it to all people, and that required additional investments in equipment, in telecom, in internet, and so on. But that was done very quickly. The only thing was that the whole country was switching to distance working, and that affected how you can support this operation. Then students and school children switched to distance learning. That was a lot of pressure on the systems. And therefore, we actually had some staff operating from office, even though at certain periods of time we had not more than 10% of staff working from office. But in general, we have the model that 20% are working from the office.
So you had a contingency plan, you had this crisis management plan before the pandemic, so you could manage it easily. Yeah, this is great. And what about the projects? So working from home, working from distance, how this had affected the projects? What kind of project you had, and what part of it has been postponed, starting from events, or how this affected the projects? As I know, you are very active stock exchange, doing the many projects simultaneously. That's why this question is important for me to understand.
Unfortunately, we have delays in implementing the projects, and the major project was switching to new trading system. And we have already postponed it 2 times because first time it had to be launched in March, at the end of March, and it wasn't possible to do it because we had quite strict quarantine in March. And it's not only the stock exchange; it's also our clients, banks and brokers. And if all of them are working or trying to operate from distance and setting up the systems, preparing stuff, it's quite difficult to launch new trading system. Another attempt we had in June, but because it's quite a big market, we had to switch repo market to new trading system, and we also launched new processes like CCP for repo market. In repo market, we have around $500 million, 1 billion trading during the day, more than 400 transactions, so it's quite significant. Therefore, again, we were preparing for that, and we thought that additional preparations are needed, so we delayed it, and we were planning to do it at the end of July. So now we'll see how this new lockdown will affect this, because we are completely prepared. I think the businesses are prepared, but if you operate not from the office, there is some extra risks that appearing, like connections, internet operating. So we'll see whether everyone will be prepared to launch it from distance.
Okay, I got it. So during this crisis time, the communication is also important, critically important, and CASE is managing this quite well through your social media, to your interviews. So we are uh, following you, and the communication is on a good level. So you launched a new series, the CASE Talks. Will you please tell us what are the main outcome of this project? So you launched it during the pandemic, right? And how you evaluate this project?
No, actually, cassette talks we launched a long time before, and they were not they were not by video. They were in person. So basically, we had this. We have our own meeting facilities. So people always come to cassette. There is a speaker talking, and we launched this in 2018 when we celebrated 25th anniversary, because we wanted different financial experts and economists talking about how the market has developed, how the stock market, financial market developed, because the 25th anniversary of the stock exchange was the same anniversary of 10 year of financial sector. Therefore, it was an interesting discussion. And then we understood that it's quite popular among students, among professionals, and publicity. So basically, we continued to operate it. But what we've done this time or in the second quarter, we had to switch it to a new format. And actually, you're quite right that we are doing a lot of activities. But again, I don't know whether in Kazakhstan, but it's quite popular to socialize, to meet in person. While now we have to kind of think about new ways of communicating. And that's why we increased our activities in social networks via Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, because right now we are not prepared, and I think it's also again depends not only on us but on our clients. It's quite difficult for university students who were studying from distance, or other businesses. They're just accustoming to this type of activities. So we'll see how we'll switch our educational events, our business events to online events. But already we switched our conferences, like press conferences, to online. We had done already a number of them. Cassette talks we have done via Instagram, and now we basically studying how we can put all our basically activities via video, via social networks, or via Zoom or other um, operators. Talking about cassette meetings, basically all meetings, because of safety of employees, we conduct via video conferences or calls.
Thank you for this. And coming to the communication, and you mentioned about the universities and about the public. You generally, CASE is doing more very good activities in financial literacy and boosting financial literacy in your country. So connected with this COVID crisis and pandemic, how do you see the continuation of this? So you switched everything to the online. Are you going to increase the communication channels with the public, or what are the new tools that you are going to use in financial literacy part?
As I mentioned before, during this pandemic situation starting March, we had to switch and operate and basically streamline all our activities, business activities. So we were busy with that. But right now we are actually thinking about how to switch our communication activities, our meetings with clients to online basis. And taking into account right now it's summer period. And again, we have a new wave of COVID-19 in Kazakhstan. So, and actually that takes down some stuff because some of our people got basically ill, and so we have to again operate in less teams. So, but we will be preparing how to launch this activity starting in September when there is business activities will pick up, and I think I hope that by that time this second wave maybe will slow down, so we'll have more businesses coming to work. But still, for safety reasons, and I think we have to prepare to do it for another 1.5 years at least to conduct everything online or by video. Therefore, we'll be thinking about how to basically organize these events, what kind of presentations to make. Because even though we have presentations always, but when you're talking in person, it's a bit different discussion. Now we have to organize it. And I think that some of the video conferencing facilities allow to do it. You can even organize working in groups via video. So we have to prepare for this. So right now we'll be starting these preparations.
Coming to the country in general, what kind of stimulus things the government is doing now for the first wave and for the second wave? Any important stimulus things? Can you mention several of them to understand how the government is dealing in the situation and the capital market generally? What part the capital market has in this?
I think that the measures which are taken by our government is similar to other countries, and central bank is taking the same. Except that maybe in our country we have quite a lot of liquidity in banks, so we don't need to take some measures like to repurchase some of the financial instruments to provide more liquidity. But what's more important is to provide cheap loans to our businesses. To postpone maybe payments for loans for businesses, especially SME, because SME was quite affected by previous lockdown. Now we have again reduced activities, and some businesses are really suffering, like cinemas, which we don't know when they will open. Some big shopping malls, different entertainment activities, food courts, which will be again closed down. Fitness centers. So all of this SME business, and therefore the government is basically took measures to first postpone payment of loans, second to provide cheaper loans, and still stimulate investment activity in different sectors and support this investment activity. Especially since we also affected by the oil price situation, which has fallen significantly in March due to negotiations, due to world economic situation, and still stays low. And we also took obligations to reduce oil export. Therefore, we have to think about new ways of generating income for the country and for our people.
Yeah, in general, the situation is a negative one. But there are some talks now starting to understand whether the outcome of this is only negative or there can be also the positive outcome. How do you think will this pandemic have any positive outcome besides the things that we are losing people, high level of debt, besides all these negative things? What do you think personally? Is there any positive changes that can happen after this?
No, of course, all of us, we like to live in boom times, not in bad times. But in bad times, it's a good way to basically appreciate what you have, to reduce expenses, extra expenses, increase efficiency. So I think that we actually internally in the company, and I think country-wise, we are all trying to increase efficiency of our operations to reduce unnecessary investments. It's also important that we were all thinking about that we will switch to distance working in some future, will reduce office space. But right now it becomes actually very important that we have strong telecommunications lines, internet lines, and I think additional investment will be done by the country to enhance these lines. Plus, it also reduces extra expenses like commuting and so on. Some activities, for example, can be done by video. But on the other side, I'm a strong believer, and I think it was obvious in previous pandemics, that people are social, very social. So therefore, as long as we have opportunity to communicate, we'll be also always communicating, meeting in person, attending the conferences, and we're actually looking forward when in FIAS we'll have an opportunity to come for our board meetings, for our general assembly, and actually have the conference which we planned for October. I'm not sure whether will be done in person, probably again by video. But I think in general, attending this communication, at least by video, is very important. I think we are all busy right now in order to streamline our operations, to adjust to this new operating environment. And actually, conference calls and video is taking a lot of time. It's also quite heavy in terms of feeling sitting down, always listening, streamlining internet. That's quite a lot of pressure. But still, as long as we get used to it, this will be our communication way in the coming future. But as soon as it will finish, we'll have an opportunity to travel, meet, see each other, because that's quite important. But again, coming back to your question, I think what we have to do is to improve our efficiency, to automate our operations, to digitalize operations, and that's what we are actually looking into right now more. So reducing paperwork, improving business processes, um, improving efficiency.
Yeah, efficiency is important here. And the very last question, as a leader, as a woman leader, how you are motivating your staff to manage this crisis, to manage this hard time?
We are trying to communicate with everyone. So, talking about, for example, directors, every week we have our meetings by video. We are coming back and discussing what is happening, what are the plans. So everyone is in touch. Then every quarter, and I think we will increase this if the situation prevails. We have meeting with staff, and we actually had this meeting with staff town hall in person, but right now we are conducting by video, and it's also a good opportunity by video, everyone coming back to one place, communication, talking to each other. We are also sending different emails, communicating with staff by emails, and I think our HRs and directors are doing a lot of work in terms of basically keep communication with the employees, because it's really a quite difficult situation in my view. Again, as a leader, as a woman, I think it's very important to support everyone, and therefore we try to talk to people, especially if they fall ill, if they do not feel good. So basically, what's happening? What do you want? What do you need? How to help you? Because it's really a frightening situation personally. Plus, you might feel that you're on your own. Therefore, we always keep communication and saying you're not alone. We as a team will support you. We are in touch.
Thank you, Ms. Aldambergen, for this interview, for your thoughts. Good luck in the difficult situation, in managing in this difficult situation. Good luck with all your projects, technology projects. We at FEAS hope that you will launch it successfully. We are sure in this. Thanks, and see you soon, we hope, not only online, but also offsite. Thank you.
Thank you, Minuhi. Actually, I wanted to thank you, Konstantin, your team, that you also keeping in touch with us, because you were one of the first ones organizing these meetings, discussing what's happening, what to do, the board meetings. And I think it's very good, because for us, it's also a way to learn from other exchanges, what they're doing, to share our experiences, and actually to see you and again feel the touch, because right now everyone feels pretty much on their own, because they have to deal with their internal issues. You cannot really talk much to your friends, because we all trying to keep safe, keep the distance, and that's really missing communications. So let's stay in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.